Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, my next guest, Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim, is a man who is perhaps more famous for his involvement in the Formula One Motor Racing Championship and more recently for the part he's playing in bringing renewable energy to Nigeria. But now, after serving as a former United Nations Under-Secretary for Renewable Energy and becoming the founder of a renewable energy company, he's now decided that he wants to be President of Nigeria. And today, he formally declared his intention to run under the Young Progressive Party, or YPP. So what's this latest personal ambition all about? Why has he decided to run for Nigeria's highest office? And why run in one of the smaller parties rather than the big ones, such as the ruling APC and the main opposition, PDP? Well, to answer those questions, I'm joined now in the studio by the man himself, the presidential aspirant under the umbrella of the Young Progressive Party, or YPP, Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
The last time you and I spoke on air,
Yes.
the big topic under discussion was renewable energy. And whether it can provide reliable power supply for Nigeria. Obviously, things have moved on since then in your neck of the woods. And today you're wearing a new hat. Tell us about that hat, although you're not physically wearing it.
I think I speak on behalf of a lot of young people and progressives in Nigeria that the way things are just isn't right. There are parties that are more interested in where they're going, who the chairman is, and who the individual that's going to run this country is going to be. And nobody's proffering any solutions, any ideas, any hopefulness. We're in disarray. Our currency is all over the place. Our economy is being led by we just don't know who. So from my personal point of view, I looked at it from a completely different perspective. I come from a family that has served Nigeria selflessly from the beginning. I like to always tell people that if you look into the Atta family very well, you find that even the flag that was lowered, the British flag that was lowered at the day of independence in 1960 was lowered by somebody who's related to me, my uncle, who I'm named after, Abdul Malik Atta, and he handed in the independence document to the Queen. I'm also proud of other members of my family that have been ministers, IG Police, NIA founder. We've done things, we've served Nigeria, and there's no point me sitting back watching where things are falling apart and not saying that I'm worthy of this cause and I have the pedigree to do that. And I'm not under any illusion that it's going to be difficult. But if we don't,
be easy.
I also don't think it's going to be difficult either. Right. And the difficulty is not in winning, the difficulty is in presenting new ideas. That's not difficult because nobody's presenting any new ideas. Whether people vote or not is going to be how you engage them. And of course the established parties have, well, the mechanism to do so. But if they keep doing what they're doing, surprises can happen.
Yeah, but I mean, you mentioned new ideas. I mean, anybody can present ideas. Obviously, as you said, it's the quality of the ideas, absolutely, but it's also the implementability of those ideas. Absolutely. So I've got to ask you this. I mean, you don't have experience as an elected person. Why president? Why not start with the low-hanging fruit such as House of Reps or Senate or perhaps even governor and then build your elected office experience from there and it makes you a more credible candidate, doesn't it?
Well, credibility in Nigeria. I looked at the people.
No, credible in terms of your experience.
Oh no, without a doubt, I agree with that. But you look at who's run the country. Where did this experience come from? Is it a coup plotter or somebody who just decided that he's going to be a president from anywhere? Nobody has had experience. Nobody has come with pedigree. There's a young set of population that's looking for something and an older set that's trying to hold on to power. I'm not young by any imagination. I'm not trying to think that I can, I'm putting myself in that youthful category. But I see myself as a bridge. And I think that people like myself, my peers, that are invisible. Nobody's talking, nobody's coming forward, nobody's proffering ideas. We're still dealing with 77-year-old gentlemen in a country where the average age is 19. There's a disconnect, and it will always be there. So proffering ideas is difficult if you don't know how to implement them. I've run businesses, I've put things together, I'm doing things that affect young people. I want to encourage them, I want to grow our fan base as a country. We need to show the world that we're here. We're not just a pariah state. We have things that we can offer the world. We're doing things amazingly. Our women are championing Nigerians' cause from the United Nations to everywhere, really. And we're not celebrating this, and we're not doing things that I think a nation should do. We should go back to the basics. Resetting Nigeria is a priority. If we go about another 4 years of continuity or go back to what we had 12 years ago, this country is really in dire straits.
Right, so you basically see 2023 as a crucial opportunity.
It's a watershed moment in the history of Nigeria. And we, young people, progressives in this country, must realize that that nuance of letting it go and somebody else will handle it doesn't work anymore. We really need effective leadership. And not just, I want to be president of this country. That's just a nomenclature. We want a leader. We want somebody who has passion for this country. We want somebody who's going to speak the truth to the people and expect them to follow him once more into that breach. And I don't see anybody that is coming out to run this country with that energy.
And why have you chosen the Young Progressive Party, or YPP? Well, because I mean, the YPP is not, I mean, it's not one of the bigger parties. It's a very small party. In the last election, the candidate of the party wasn't even in the first 10 or beyond. I mean, so why choose the YPP? Doesn't that limit your chances?
Okay, so we look at politics as what the party does, the party chooses, the zoning. We don't put the right person in that office. We don't put somebody that's having Nigerian ideas, that understands where the people are. We're just saying we're putting PDP or APC or whoever it might be. We need to get away from this politics of the individual because of the party. We want the politics of the individual because of what they prefer, what their skill sets are. And we're missing that.
Absolutely. That should be
the criteria for picking who leads this great country.
I would agree with that. But you do know that in the circumstances, because I mean, what you're articulating, your thoughts very well, but on a practical level, you do know that you'd be hard-pressed to convince many people that you are not so much the right man for the job, but that beyond all the other things that get in the way of putting the right man into the job, that you're going to be able to navigate through all that. And that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because people have to believe that you can win, not so much that you've got the capacity to be a leader, but that you can actually win an election.
And we also need to understand that the parties don't win the elections, it's the people. They have to put their thumbs on that piece of paper. And as long as we have the will to engage them and let them believe your story, I'm sorry, but I can't see where an Atiku or Tinubu can lead me to anything other than the grave. And I mean that with all due respect. They're not at the level of which this country needs to grow. They do not get what we're looking for. We're looking for someone who's leading us into past the 21st century. We're having problems with things like Paystack, where we've led the world and our economists are trying to kill something that is so Nigerian, so amazing. Twitter, what we did there was just not thought through properly. We're giving the wrong signals to a young population who's looking at this saying, where do we go next?
And you think that's because Nigeria's leadership is essentially a gerontocracy? They're out of touch.
I think they're from the Flintstones age, to be very honest.
That's even worse.
That's definitely worse. This Jurassic politics does not take a modern, vibrant, excitable country like this to the next level. We need to find some something that touches the nerve of the young people to say, look, stay here. Going to Lampedusa to cross over the Mediterranean to get to UK is not going to do you anything. You're going on a living hell journey. But if you can find somebody who can lead you into, let's cross that Red Sea. Let's do what Moses did. Let me find somebody that does that for Nigeria. We're on a completely different level. And I'm not, I can't put my thoughts into the right order, but I love this country. I've lived outside this country for 47 years. I didn't have any qualms about not taking a British passport or an American passport. I knew where I came from. I have pedigree. And I don't want someone looking at me and looking down at me, which I've experienced in all my life. In Formula One, 50 years of a sport. I was the first black man in that sport. They said I couldn't do it. You would never own a team. Well, the moment I did that, everybody turned around and looked at me going, oh no, we got to get this blemish off. And it was everything from negativity. He did this, he did that. They threw stones. They said I stole the money.
I remember that period in England.
It was awesome to see what a black man can do in a white world. And I don't want to belabel that. I've lived it, and a lot of people see negatives in that, and I see positives.
So the challenge is now what a black man can do in a black world.
And not just that, a black man with a vision, because we always seem to put visionaries down. He's mad, he's incapable. But young people like that madness. We want to see something that's daring. We're a daring country. You know, we talk about insecurity in this country, and I laugh. We have liberated so many countries. Our soldiers have done things that most European countries could not do. They used us, in fact, and we excelled. But we can't fight in the Northeast and remove this. It's leadership. Herdsman, bandit, armed robbers using the same weapons as a soldier. We're the AK-47 nation. Why aren't we getting more precise, more formidable arms and giving our men and women what they deserve? And if you don't do what a young president will do, which is go out and see what other nations are using and coming back and implementing that in your country, we're going nowhere in a hurry. And I'm tired of that. And I think a lot of us are tired, and they're looking for something new. And that newness is what could be the downfall of these two big parties.
Well, we're going to come back in the second part to talk about look more at your ideas and the thoughts and so on. We've got about a minute before we take a break. There's been talk of a big merger of several political parties ahead of 2023. Is the YPP in the mix, and would you be encouraging that sort of thing?
I'm not aware of this merger, but I think that if the powers that be that control this so-called independent organization that looks after our elections, INEC, if INEC is going to do what it needs to do and make this free and fair election happen, with the new laws that have been put in place by the National Assembly, I don't think it's necessary for a merger. I think YPP stands strongly that, yes, of course, it's politics. We may have to horse trade, but our ideals are strong. We need to serve the people, and serving the people is what we must do.
Okay, stay with us. We want to talk with you some more. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with Malik Ado Ibrahim, who has declared his presidential aspirations under the banner of the Young Progressive Party. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Onigolu. Now today we are continuing with our dialogue with the candidates and aspirants, both known and not so known, assessing their policy proposals and their chances as Nigeria heads towards crucial general elections in 2023. And the presidential aspirant under the spotlight today is Malik Ado Ibrahim, who has declared his intention to run under the banner of the Young Progressive Party, or YPP. He's hoping not only to win the candidacy, but to create a third way in Nigerian politics, a sort of alternative ideology between the two dominant models of the ruling All Progressives Congress, or APC, and the main opposition, People's Democratic Party, or PDP. And Malik Ado Ibrahim is still with me in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. I know you're going to talk a lot about the economy unemployment, poverty, and hopefully we'll have the time to get to that. But many have suggested that for Nigeria to really move forward, Nigerian politics would have to be cleaned up, because I think it was President Obasanjo who once said that if politics is the master, then if politics is bad, invariably the economy and everything else will be bad. Do you agree with that analysis?
You know, the way the Nigeria picks its leaders, I'm not a big fan of. Again, I say that we're not picking people based on what their capacity is, that their capabilities are. We're picking more on whether the person is corrupt or not corrupt, whether the person is a soldier or not. We're not looking at what we need. What we need here is a plan. A country without a plan is a country going nowhere. We haven't given the public an idea of what we need to do. There is a reason now where we need a leader who's going to say, please, here is what we need to do. We need to go back to basics.
But if you don't reform the politics, you're never going to get that leader.
But you cannot do that reform without being inside the system. You can't reform from the outside. So we must get in there and then show people the kind of leadership that we can bring to bear. If we re-employ, because remember, we serve the people, they pay for us. If we re-employ this same twins, APC and PDP, we're going to get more and more of the same thing.
I like that,
does
twins,
not change.
eh?
They don't fight with each other. There is, your last guest talked about opposition. Yes, absolutely, you should have an opposition, but the problem is they're going to do the same thing the last person did. So we need to actually just break that model down, not reinvent the box, create a brand new box. And in that box, there will be people who can run this country, manage it well, and keep their eye on the ball and stop losing. They're distracted by simple little things when you can't even drive a car from here to where I come from. It took us an hour and a half, 2011. It takes us 4.5 hours just to get to Okene. That's not leadership.
But of course, when we talk about political reform, we don't just mean the political parties or the electoral process. You're also talking about addressing political issues that make people feel alienated and dissatisfied, and complaints of marginalization and oppression and injustice and all that sort of thing.
But then again, I'm still going back to that point. You need a uniter in chief. The president of Nigeria has no religion. He has no tribe. He
ought not to have a religion.
Yes, but if you're taking that job, you must disengage from the ordinary. You must take this as an oath to the people who you serve.
That's a crucial point.
And we neglect that because we get there and all of a sudden the siren makes us deaf and dumb. We don't see the pothole on the road anymore that we used to drive through. We need somebody who's active enough to say, hey, this must change. And so I'm not delusional that I can change things and win tomorrow, but I will start something that Nigeria won't forget. I will get young people engaged, and I want them to understand that they own this country. That constitution says we the people, we are all part of that joint venture agreement. We must vote the right people in and vote the right people out.
So you want a vision that unites all the people in that vision?
Without a doubt. If Nigeria finds a Nigerian to run this country, all this opportunism that has been taken by factions that want segregation will not show, because you can go to places and make your sentiment felt. Let people know that you care about them. Engage in an empathetic way. Not this engagement of largesse and let somebody else deal it and I'm just going to go to the foreign trips. Get your hands dirty. But you need energy to do that, and you need youthfulness to do that, and you need somebody who understands what the people want.
Now let's turn to the economy, because you can't get the economy up and moving without it being energized, to use the sort of term that you were employing there. And that energy has to come from investments, doesn't it? What do you think people are looking for when they want to invest, and how would you go about giving them what they want?
We are faced with a particular situation in the world today. Nobody's paying attention to anybody but themselves. Every country has isolated and looked inside itself. This imperialism of the West is not there anymore. We need to do the same. But there's an opportunity that Nigeria has, and it's one that I have seen probably in my dreams more than I want to say, because I just think that when we look at who we were before and we know where we came from, agriculture. You know, the north and the southern hemisphere are suffering from an incredible climate calamity. We're sitting at 1 degree above the equator, 65 million hectares of arable land. We're the breadbasket of the world. If we had the right energized personality that could look at that and say, you know what, they don't have wheat there in the next 10 years. We have it here in Nigeria. Let's mechanize, let's grow. We need power. So let's not look at the traditional. Let's look at, as you know, I'm from the renewable energy background. Let's harness the sun. Let's do things like that. The economy is not that difficult to fix. But we're running away from the basics, trying to do e-Naira and multiple exchange rates when we should be focusing on the basics. Get our people right. Get the economy moving at the grassroots level.
Well, let's talk about that, those basics, because you mentioned energy and you're involved in renewable energy. Absolutely. How much acceleration has there been of renewable energy since you took up that quest a few years ago? What have you achieved in that direction?
Well, let me not talk about what I've achieved, because it just surprises me what I've been able to do outside my own country. In my own country, we're stuck in neutral, to use a racing term. We haven't even engaged first gear. We had wonderful policies. 1,500 megawatts of solar will be put into our economy. This is when 2015. Not one piece of glass is on the ground. We're building one of the largest agricultural farms and EPZ in Adamawa with Sebore International to put basics into the economy. Milk, eggs, wheat. We're doing this using renewable energy, private sector, and we're doing it. And we're looking at the government saying, you've had all this power. We're private individuals, why can't you do this? The herdsman issue is not a problem. Fix it so that they get wealth. And if they get wealth, they're not roaming around. There's some simple things, but we get sentiment. We want to use that to divide people. If you put money in people's hands, you've got a different nation. If they have something to live for, to look after their families, to feel engaged, to feel part of a Nigeria, we have a completely different country. But you must know what you want to do. And when you're sitting above, looking down and not seeing what's underneath you, it's very difficult. So I'm not looking at Nigeria saying it's impossible. I'm saying we have mission possible. We just have to have somebody who knows what that game plan is and plays that game.
Malik Ado Ibrahim, who is, of course, declared his presidential aspirations under the Young Progressive Party today. Thank you very much indeed. Very interesting talking with you.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.